Everyone. Welcome to another session of the Glass Academy webinars, where we explore the fascinating ways glass shapes our spaces, experiences, and design thinking, brought to you in collaboration with Ethos Empowers. This session explores how glass can balance daylight, provide shade, manage monsoon rains, and enhance thermal comfort in warm, high rainfall regions. We'll examine practical approaches, innovative solutions, and lessons from real projects that help architects, designers, and builders to create spaces that are both functional and inspiring. Our speaker today is Mr. Manoj Madhu, an architect and founder of Monsoon Collective, a practice dedicated to climate responsive design with a special focus on tropical architecture. A graduate of IIT Roorkee, his journey spans diverse scales and contexts, from project manager at ITC Limited to global experience with Gensler and EHTT and hands-on Indian projects with 100 Hands. Beyond practice, Mr. Manoj has shared his expertise as a visiting faculty member, contributed to architectural publications, and helped organize design events that foster collaboration and community engagement. His work consistently explores innovative solutions to balance light, heat, and rainfall, creating spaces that are comfortable, sustainable, and visually compelling. It is my pleasure to welcome architect Manoj Madhu, who will take us through the art and science of designing with glass in tropical climates, showing how light, shade, and rain can be harmoniously balanced to create spaces that are resilient, inspiring, and sustainable. Welcome, architect Manoj.
Thank you. Good evening.
To start off, sir, we would love to hear a bit about your personal journey. Can you share your journey in architecture and what inspired you to focus on tropical design?
Right. So, as you already introduced, I'm from Kerala. So, basically, I'm born and brought up in the monsoons, in the tropical architecture, tropical culture. Right. So, that was something that's been my life. Then from here, I went to the northernmost part of the country, studied at IIT Roorkee, then worked across the country. I did project management at TC, I did design management at Gensler, worked with EHGD, then worked on 100 Hands, which is like a very Indian school of thought. Then post that, I tried doing writing, working with multiple communities, exploring different type of architectures in India, construction technologies. Right, all these things were happening around. So it was like initial years were formative years were basically exploration, like where to end up professionally and on my own. And then of course you start doing your own thing, right? You work with partnerships, did few companies on your own, and all the while you were always looking for what is it that resonates with you? What is it the image like? Yeah, initially when you start a practice, you do everything. You chase imagery. You want to do this and you want to do that, right? So you end up doing everything. But after a certain point, you hit a note saying, okay, right, there's a certain thing that I want to follow, some certain thing that's mine. Right. So being coming from where I am, where I've seen people work, living in tropical architecture, but using Western or using Northern Indian kind of design principles here. So there was always this point to explore what works in tropical architecture better. Right. And also the huge tradition that we have through our vernacular architecture as well as what great Laurie Baker taught us. Those things also helped us when I say yes, us as a team that we have, right? So to do what we have. That's how I went solo with Monsoon Collective in 2021. I wanted a name that resonates what we do, right? We are from the monsoon. It's not just about the architecture, it's about the culture, it's about the climate, it's a way of living, right? So what we do is not just about buildings per se, it's about how we live, how we manage, everything. Right. So that's how I reached to this point.
Thank you. So that was very inspiring. So, tropical regions like Kerala, sir, they pose a very distinct set of environmental challenges, especially when working with materials like glass. So, what would you say are the unique challenges of using glass in tropical climates, and how do you approach them?
Right. Okay, Kerala is of course infamous for rains, right? It's more than 6 months it rains. So, and it's an unforgiving rain. Rains are not just your light rains, it's very, very hard on them. And when it's not raining, it's really hot. Right. So how do we design to ensure you tackle both? Right. One side you have huge amount of heat coming in. So how do you place a glass, right? So sometimes you hit a point where uh, do you really need glass there? That's question you comes in. So when you place glass, can the glass stand on its own? Right. What are do we need to have any additional shading devices? Right. So how does it deal with heat, reduce glare, reduce thermal infiltration, ingress? At the same time, how does the water move in? How is the sealant working? How is the drip details working? Right. So that's just listed down. These are the two challenges, right? Now, you have to look at how water behaves along with the glass, how the details, maintenance, water ingress. Then also how it works with heat, right? You need shading devices. It shouldn't make hotter the space because of the glass, right? So basically, if you look in short, I could say glass has to earn its place in the space, right? It shouldn't be just fit in just to be fit in, right? That way.
Yes, so that's true. You mentioned so many factors that we'll have to look into with glass. And one of the most discussed aspects of glass is its relationship with light, like you've mentioned, and heat, especially in regions like Kerala where there is intense sunlight. So, how do you balance daylight and glare in tropical buildings while using glass effectively?
Okay, so as you just said, in Kerala, light is not a problem. Right? People will say that when you look, okay, we need more light, we need more. Here, the problem is how to reduce light. Is the other way around. Okay, so now, and we do not want direct sunlight. Right. When you look at whatever we have been taught in college, right? We say they put the glass in the north or glass in the south and all those things. Right. Most of those things fails in Kerala, right? We been south of Tropic of Cancer. So the sun moves to the north also at a certain time of the year. Right. So first point is we are not looking at openings as a point of bringing in light. No matter what happens, light will come. Now the question is, how do you want to bring in the light? Do you want a direct light? Do you want a diffuse light? Do you want to create reflections of certain things? Right. Now that is where the glass comes in as a point. Right. So you need to bring in a light. It shouldn't be uh, a thing of obstructing thing that brings in light, but not direct light. So it light glass can't come in certain. It has to come with a certain other design detail of what do you say, penetration detail, which brings in light in a certain way that doesn't bring glare. It doesn't overpower you. Now, the other time, because you're saying tropical and Kerala, the other strong thing about tropical architecture is abundant greenery. Right now, glass becomes a piece of art kind of thing. You can start framing greenery, right? So then you have to look at glass also, saying that you want to frame a certain view. There, glass comes into and plays a different role. It's not about light anymore. You need to bring a light, but it also becomes a point of art where the nature becomes an art itself. So that is the kind of things that you have to play with here. Light, but not direct light like we do in the north.
True, sir. The requirements are very different as you come towards the south of India.
Yeah.
And so, sir, transparency is often a key design objective when it comes to using glass. Yet, thermal comfort is so critical in warm and humid climates. So, what strategies do you employ to manage the heat gain while maintaining transparency and maintaining that visual connection?
Oh, yeah. So, as I just said in the first part itself, the biggest cues that we can get is from our vernacular art. Right. So, Kerala's are famous for courtyards, verandas, jalis, and all those things. Right. We just have to bring a modern interpretation to it. So, whenever you have a frame, you need to have a deep shade or then layer it up. Right, you have a court, then the glass, or the court, a veranda and a glass, or veranda and the glass. Right. So whenever you want to bring in certain visual connectivity, it has to come with part. It has to be a part of a layer. Its glass is not a standard. It has to be part of a layer. And also, you have to. Then another thing is you have. It also has to be part of the cross ventilation systems. What are ventilation systems? So you have a courtyard. So either you have to look at how it aligns with the wind direction. Right? Is it obstructing the winds, or is it placed along the wind? Right. On the flip side, you might have to use glass as an obstruction to the rain coming in. So it's a very tricky thing. So it's a very site and specific pointer, right? So when I'm designing next to a river, right? Sometimes it has to be along the path of the river, so that there becomes two few things, because air from the river becomes cool. You get good frames of the river assets, right? And but when I'm designing for somewhere else, let's say I'm designing next to a farmland or something, so where I want to bring the air in, so there might be not be much to see. So sometimes the courts or verandas are skewed in the other way around, right? So it's a very so you cannot again you cannot look at it just like lighting, thermal, and everything. Everything has to be merged into a single system. You have to keep all those things in mind. So when I'm telling few things, it gets overlapped with the other point.
Yes, sir, true. I mean, they're all interconnected in one way or the other. So my next question, sir, you mentioned about the heavy rainfall and the high humidity in Kerala. So in tropical climates with that, glass must maintain a reliable performance under such kind of heavy rainfall and humidity. So how do you design glass facades to handle the monsoon rains and humidity, and over time, what is the maintenance?
Okay, first point that a lot of people have heard this is we are when we design, we are not gonna design against the rain. We are not trying to make it water. Uh, we are not creating water obstacles. Okay, water is gonna come. Let's accept that fact. Right? So we have to, and we no matter what do we do, water will find a way to come in. Right. So now, how do you do it? How can we design in such a way that a water that enters can go out comfortably? So your drip details has to be such that so water falls in the glass, it has to go in. It shouldn't collect and create a leakage system. Right. You create water channels such that even if it falls on a glass, it has to flow down, go to the channels and get out. Right. So it becomes like a symbiotic thing. Right. You design in such a way that this becomes a system that helps water move out. Right. And in order to also work, how can you make that as an experience, right? Water falling in, that flow of water on the glass. So glass being a very transparent stuff, that can also becomes an engaging design where you can see water flowing on the glass. I mean, in my presentation, I'll show you a detail there. Right. So we figure out how to make water and glass work together. And also, of course, we have to give slopes, right? Else, if we have a flat glass, it always becomes a point of maintenance headaches, right? How do you clean it? How do you wash it? So even if you're doing a flat courtyard, you have to ensure there is a certain slope, not like you're 1:100. You have to make it a bit more bit sloper, so that the water moves in, water flows out easily, or if it's just a gentle wash and outside. So it's about the initial design system itself. How do you look at what glass becoming a part of water path, not an obstacle? How can you create that into an experience? How to place the disadvantage to your advantage, right? And then how do you ensure maintenance is not a problem? What are the sealants that you use, edge details that you do? What are the profiling that you do? But whenever you do it, you're looking at to avoid leakage and let the water go out. We are not gonna cut it out, because if you cut it, water will find another way. It might not be through glass, it might be through some other material. Right. So that's how it is.
Yes, so very true. Like you said, the performance of the glass can depend on how effectively it is integrated with all the other architectural elements around it. You had mentioned previously, sir, maybe you could give us more in details about how shading devices and ventilation strategies work alongside with glass in your designs.
Okay. So okay, the most common way the first I'll talk about shading. So the shading is very critical because as it's very hot, and the most common and infamous trending word is called the pergolas. right? It used to be Bryce Soleil from Le Corbusier and Königsberger. Now it's called Pergola, and Pergola becomes a, what do you say, penchant for contemporary architecture. So that is what everyone does. Just do a pergola system, put a glass on top of it, and then. But eventually you'll have a lot of issues to it. Right. So basically, what are you trying to do? Well, you're trying to reduce the amount of the light ingress through the glass. So for that, you can do a lot of systems, right? Either if you're doing a horizontal glass, you can have jalis, you get the terracotta jalis to do it. You can use bamboos and canes and you can create patterns through that. And if you're doing a vertical glass, of course, again, you can have a vertical jali system or the traditional wooden louvre systems that Kerala has, right? So which can be opened, closed, which can be fixed, right? So all these systems are there in our culture. I don't have to go and hunt outside Kerala to go there. So that is how the shading happens. And of course, as I said, deep verandas, deep shading ways, long reefs, slope, all the slope roofs that has always been part of Kerala, most famously the Padmanabharam Palace, right? And again, the ventilation part. So again, so you have to decide the places where the glass has to be along the path of the wind and obstructing the wind pattern. Right, that's a side thing. I cannot give a generic rule to it. Right. So, of course, westerlies, we have a southwestern west monsoons right now. So sometimes we tend to block those southwest monsoon winds to come in. Right. And maybe we try to create opening that enough wind comes in. If you're placed next to a farmland or an open space, you try to direct your wind in. Right. You get a cooler wind. So it's a bit site specific, right? As we all know. So I cannot give a generic thing. Yeah, maybe obstructing the wind from southwest is good in a certain way because we get wind everywhere, right? We don't have to only focus on getting southwest winds, but most of the monsoons, the heavy monsoons, comes from the southwest. Apart from the northeasterlies in the October and the November, the heavy ones come from this side. So yeah, that's a basic strategy that we have.
Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing that. And next question, sir. In your work, a glass often plays a critical role in shaping how buildings respond to their context. Could you maybe walk us through some of your projects and explain how glass has been integrated into them?
Yeah, I'll do that. So the whole conversation that I'm going to do is, or the images that I'm going to do is basically what I just told right now, right? I just going to showcase what it is, and maybe I can tell you how the little techniques that I use in a couple of projects that to do it. But always the disclaimer comes in that it's not a generic method because it worked in a certain project, doesn't it needn't work everywhere else, right? So I'm
Yes.
just sharing the screen.
Sure, sir.
Right. So this is in this project, this is basically the carporch area. Right. So we have a glass on the top. We didn't want to do a usual roofing system like a galvanizing sheet or something. Right. It's a nice green space along with the brick thing. We wanted to showcase the strength of the brick, the design pattern of the brick, and also create patterns with light onto it. So now the glass brings in the light, but to avoid harsh sun, we have used canes. In the metaphor, it's just regular local canes, which we got it from local some guys, and we just fixed it. So it reduces the heat, right? And it creates a certain pattern into it. Again, you have to, I think this was one of those glasses you have residential coolant glasses or something like that, which reduces heat. Right? That is a very common thing that we use to, it has that nice gray tinge, which doesn't color the light coming in, right, and brings in. So we are able to, and also, I mean, knowingly or unknowingly, it also becomes a place where they were doing their dance practice, performances. The left, the red side is actually the client, right? Okay, so she's a dancer herself, so she does her sessions over there, and all, right? So you can see how glass with brick and the local material enhance the whole place. The entrance, this is the entrance to the house, right? So how that bringing in this bringing in light, right? No other material can do that. Bringing in light with creating a certain permeability. So these are the kind of spaces that we are able to do. Then, of course, what I was saying again, courtyard and framing the whole place. So this is the courtyard in the same house. Again, I said another cool glass. So this glass had enough E value such that it was not keep making the space hot.
Mm.
Right. But if we had closed up the whole space, there was no ventilation. So in this system, this is actually open and it looks onto a farmland. So the air comes through these areas and get down and cool the whole place with a water channel for the rainwater to get out. Right.
Oh,
But now this glass ensures that you have a protected space where you are basically connecting to the sun and the outdoors during the day. Like it's bright but not glaring, the whole place. It creates as beautiful shadows and creates such spaces also, very natural. So this is almost noon, but the light is not harsh, right? Because of the system. And it also starts connecting every spaces because now this is what I said. It was framed here with, but the glass again creates a seamlessness. You're inside but outside, kind of a system, right? From the living area, again, you're seeing the systems here, spaces here. And you're getting more spans because of the glass material use, right? If else with a block work or anything, you're reducing the view or vistas that you have, right? And even in the night, it becomes a different space altogether, right? You are seeing the stars, the moon under there. It becomes a place where you wind down, you chill a bit, right? That
yes.
way. Now I've been talking about horizontal glass. Now we can use glass again as this is again glass. I mean, same go with windows also, UPVC windows, right? So now this becomes a space where glass is on the horizontal space. It gives a seamless view from the daughter's bedroom with this nice seating. Right, there is a glass outside also, so you can see the sea from there. I mean,
Yes.
sky from that angle. So you can create such spaces. Then again, now where you want to control the light, I was saying that you have to look at spaces where you have to control the light, also create privacy. Now this is an area, this is a master bedroom, but you are able to now these all these glasses or windows are frosted. Now how do you bring in good ample light? So you create this clerestory windows on the top, which brings in a like a skylight filtered light. It basically lightens up the ceiling first, so it feels like a natural light coming from the top. And even we accentuated this area with frosted glass, which brings in enough light to get this peace lily grow.
Okay.
Right. So bringing in glass, playing it very carefully, very nicely, you can create a lot of things and a lot of lights, a lot of functional purposes also, along with creating a unique experience. I was just showing, highlighting how the clear story looks during the day next to these materials. During the night, how does it behave? Right, just showing more space how it works with it. And now it's also becomes part of a coat right now. This is the other way of putting it. You have a glass again. Now you are using jalis, terracotta jali. Right. It's again during the day because of the jali system. It's very well lit, but again, no, not a harsh sun. It gives a nice place where you want to be, like an extension of the house. And in the night, it becomes a place of activity. Right. So how do you use all those materials and along with glass? So that's why it's not glass alone that you want to do. You're trying to create emotions and experiences in the house. How do you use multiple materials to create that? Right. So again, this is the front of the house, right? So now this whole area is with roof tile. Now the light is actually brought through this glass piece here,
Hmm.
which you can see the amount of light that comes here because of which even enables her to read a book. Just like in our, we always wanted our childhood, right? You wanted to sit next to the main door, sit
Yes,
down,
sir.
read. Like we have small something called Tinna that we call in Kerala, small places. That's all there. So, but all of those spaces dies off without proper light or ventilation.
Hmm.
Right. So, I mean, I just tried to play a small video. This is rains.
Okay.
It's getting stuck for some reason. Yeah. I mean, it's getting stuck actually for some reason. I don't know. But I know you see.
Yeah, we can see it now.
So this is what happens during the rains. So water flows along the glass on the top, right? So it becomes part of the slow proof. Now it becomes an experiential thing. When you're in, you can see the water flowing on the house. This is the same space that you saw in the previous slide, which was bringing in the light,
Okay.
right? So it was during sun, it brings in the light comfortably, and during it rains, it becomes an experiential element, right?
Yes, sir.
And also it becomes a place of pensive mood if you have a large glass pane, right? So it is that's what. So what are the emotions and space it creates? You're not just about architecture spaces alone that you create, or you want a very bright sun. Here in this project, actually the water flows down here and water trickles down through here
Oh,
during the rain.
okay.
So this is actually that where the water is held and water comes down and it gets collected here and moves into the rainwater harvesting system.
Wow.
Right. So that is how this system works. So that's what I said. Don't look at glass as a singular material. Now, if you're looking at commercial building spaces again, if you're looking at a high performance glass, usually offices are known for boring, closed spaces with disconnected with outside. Now, with good glass and good, this is Bangalore actually, you can
Okay.
connect very well with the exterior. So your office space becomes a seamless space. You are not disconnected. It basically increases your productivity. You are happier. You work better, right? Even our office space pans across with good views. That is what large panes. You can also see some basic shading devices introduced to reduce heat coming in.
Yes, yes.
Right. So I'm just trying to say how you can use the same material in multiple ways. Yeah, that's it from me right now.
That was such a lovely presentation. So, so inspiring, and the ideas and techniques really. Thank you so much for sharing,
Mm.
sir. All of them were really amazing projects. So, sir, technology and material innovation, they're constantly evolving and they're offering so many new possibilities for designers, like you said, not to just look at it as a singular material. So, what role does innovation play in your use for glass for tropical architecture?
Okay, so the usual talk about among glass manufacturers or whatever it is all about how can you make it more sustainable, right? How can you increase modularity, right? Repeatability, right? So basically, saving cost, right? Then thermal comfort, all those things are there. But at the same time, at an architect's level, glass is always said as spoken about as a bad thing for climate, right? For some reason, whatever it's be. So how do we improve glass performance to improve the conditions within the space against the climate, right? Your E values or your VLTs and your all those systems that you do. How do you improve that, right? Within the given cost and specifically in a tropical, as I said, heat is a big issue. Then the water is a big issue. So, right, how do you ensure you have a very good performance glass that you have that visibility and comfort light coming in? At the same time, what are the details of what are the durable designs that you can bring along with the glass? When you look at glass, let's not look at glass alone. What are the systems that comes along with the glass? Right, reduce maintenance, work with any humid conditions, long life in whatever kind of range comes in. And right now, though we have been in an age of standardization, now people are actually looking at customization more. Right. How can we look at different types of glass in terms of pattern, along with performance and everything? What are the kind of design features or frosting or etching details and color combinations that we can figure out? Like that. And also, when you're looking at commercial spaces, there's smart technologies that you're looking at, right? You all know what is a smart glass. We know glass switches on, switches off. Now we are looking into where glass uh, can behave as a thing of data, transfer of data, right? So because when you have long spans of glass across office spaces, right, you struggle to run your cable lines and everything. Now, how do you figure out how glass can help that? Right. Glass can help collaboration, communication system. You usually do your writing on glass in office spaces, but can it be much more beyond where you transfer information from data? I mean, I'm talking Iron Man technology kind of systems, but yeah, right. That is the future. But yeah, those are the things that we're looking at. One side, we are trying to be rooted with the climate and how glass can help it, but also we are looking at future looking also how glass can help collaborate better, be more productive so that we save time and spend more time with families, to be short. Right. So
Yes,
those are the things I look at.
Yes, yes, I agree. So you had mentioned before how there is no single answer for any challenge and how each tropical site can present its own unique challenges for material performances. So what are the factors that would shape your selection and detailing of glass that you would use for a project?
Okay, so first, when it's you're designing a space, when you're designing a space, you're not keeping in what material or what kind of technique that you're going to use. That's not the first thought. First thought is what is the experience that you want to create? What is the design that you want to create? What is the emotion that you want to work? From there, you start choosing the material. Right. So based on the space and the context and the parameters there, you start choosing them. Sometimes you want a glass, as once I showed you, right? There you need a glass that has to have reduced heat ingress. Okay. And it has to work flat. It has to have a nice, good detailing and everything. Right. Now there's another place where I'm using glass as a play thing. It's a child's room, right? So there again, now when I look at glass, I am not bothered about heating res or anything. It's an open one. So there it becomes what are the kind of colors I can get? What is the kind of detailing thing that I can make it into a playful thing, right? But now when I'm looking at an office space, right? Now, is there a glass that I can have a huge span glass without intermediate fitting details or profiles and all those things, right? What is the noise cancellation system? What is the fire hour rating system? So fire rating system. So all those things comes into the purpose, right? Now when we are doing we were doing a large factory complex, right? So north light need a certain level of glass spec, right? South light would need a glass spec along with those things. So you have to do your data analysis, I'm sorry, energy analysis, light modeling. Then you start picking it up. Right. And you have to certain maintain a certain window to wall ratio for whatever green building rating systems. Now, along with that, what glass comes into a certain area. So now my northern side glass would be different from my southern side glass. Right. Then again, I would look at what is it facing. Is it roadside? Is it non-roadside? When the roadside get vibration comes in, noise comes in. Right. So even the glass thickness comes in, becomes a detailing. The what's the fitting detail? What's the gasket detail? Do we need a DGU, single units, vacuum? So so you when you look at it, that's it. So for first time looking at designing a space, right? As it is a factory, okay, I have to reduce noise. I have to reduce sound coming from outside. So what is the glass that I have to use it? So when I look at this is the way of choosing the glass. What are the parameters of choosing it? And being sustainable, one of the biggest things that we always look is it locally available or is it available in a single setup? I don't want to procure something from France or US or something and then tell my building is sustainable. Right? What is the lead time? What is your supply chain system? What is the life cycle cost? Right. So when you look at those things also come into our mind when we design it. Right. So after designing, then it becomes you as a human being caring for Earth. What can you do to ensure whatever you choose abides goes by those principles?
True, sir. Very true what you said. So my next question, sir, is you had spoken a little bit about performance of glass under heavy monsoon exposure. So how would you evaluate that long-term performance that a glass would go through under heavy monsoon and humidity exposure?
Right. So usually what I do here is I ensure I do a check or I tell the vendors also, they go, you have to see how this glass performance performs through one summer and one monsoon. Right. No matter what detailing you designing you do or whatever testing you do with your water hose, you know the truth only after you it goes through a summer and the monsoon. Because sometimes if monsoon comes in, it's slightly colder, your detail shrinks and everything. And when summers it expands, right? Because then the commitment of glass, you would say, okay, this will be cooler. And you install it in the monsoon, but summer it is actually hot. It doesn't work out. So then eventually you add other material or shading design. You have seen so-called green building houses or green buildings with the roller blinds always kept down. Right. You have if you go through Bangalore or your Hyderabad, high-tech city, this beautiful so-called blue tinted or purple tinted glasses, but all your roller blinds are down. And you would have all your lead platinum rating and stuff. That is a testament to say, does it work or not? The occupancy game. So those basically, I just gave you the answers, right? Right. How does it behave in this thing? And the examples where it didn't behave well. So we have done designs where the water system we planned didn't fail. Water didn't go through the path we prescribed. Water went through some other path. So we have to do those correction, right? So our role as an architect doesn't end only on handing over, I mean, by handing over the building or the home. That we have to do our post occupancy analysis, maybe at least 2 years, if you ask me. Right. Beyond that, of course, there are certain wear and tear, how they use the space, all those comes in. But generally, yeah, two sets of seasons has to be seen. So I'm sets of seasons why I'm calling it. In Kerala, it's rain and monsoon. When we go, you have to look at the winters also.
Yes, sir. And I think over time, the lessons that we learn from the past projects and experiences help us carry forward towards our
Absolutely.
next.
We learn more from our mistakes than from our victories. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So you had mentioned, sir, about how locally sourced materials are important. So how do you ensure that the use of glass in your projects resonates with the local culture and the surrounding environment?
Yeah, I think I've touched upon already these few points. There are a lot of cues from the older or the vernacular system or traditional systems that we have to use, but we cannot blindly use them. We have to bring it into the modern world. Right. No, we cannot build a house in 21st century that looks like in 20th century or 19th century. Right. So in that, of course, material plays a certain role to make it look in a certain from a certain era. But at the same time, you have to look at each material as a part of a larger game. Right. So right now, our local culture is more about spending time on veranda, talking to people, looking at spaces where you get that ventilation. I always design rain space in all the houses that I do. I do a space where you sit down and enjoy rain. Right. So, I mean, I just in that video you saw a part of, right. And other buildings also, so where you just sit down and enjoy the rains when it rains, right? That's part of our culture, right? And you get that petrichor, the first smell of the rain, right? So there you need both things. One, you need certain open spaces where the wind, the coolness or the slight moist air comes in. At the same day, you need systems where you protects you from the rain. Right. At the after even point, rain starts coming through at a 90-degree also. Right. So some days you need glass systems that closes the space so that you enjoy and see the rain outside. But at the same time, it protects you from them. So usually your rain spaces, verandas, courtyards, and framing of systems is where you use the glass, which is also part of all the tinnas and agraharams and verandas and nadumuttams and all or padipura that you have a padipura. Right? Usually padipura used to have that roof system. Now we do padipura to the path from the padipura to the house is covered with the glass pathway. So when you walk yourself, you see the sun or the rain above. Right. So those are little tweaks that you do to bring in glass into our culture, but in a modern way.
Yes, sir. That's very true. I agree with so much of what you said. And speaking of material and combinations and locally sourced materials, are there any material combinations like glass with timber or glass with stone that you find particularly effective in tropical climates like Kerala?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we already see saw projects. So glass with timber is something that we mostly go by. But of course, we have to be very careful with which timber and where we use it. Okay, so teak is obviously the easiest one because just like no matter what the temperature or the thing is, teak also behaves in a certain way that it doesn't bend and break or anything. But if you're using some other wood, there's a huge chances of crack in the glass and the junction breaking off. So we have to be very careful. And using glass with timber usually brings the warmth of the timber onto the glass. Right. You unknowingly or knowingly you start feeling there's a brown tinge to the glass. Right. So that begins. There are areas where I had glass fixed onto the stone, but stone is not exactly a tropical kind of a material. You don't relate it to it much unless you're in a hilly stage area. But glass timber is one of the most common thing that we do, and I mean here more than glass doing to timber, timber does more to the glass. So this works with us.
Yes, sir. And you had mentioned before, sir, and we've seen that so many of your projects show such a deep engagement with the monsoon and tropical climates, courtyards, water channels, and materials that enhance the comfort and experience of the user. So, how do you approach integrating glass solutions into these climate responsive strategies without compromising on the performance or the sensory connection to the outdoors?
Okay, so when you do the design, as I already said, right, it's about what are the emotions, what is the space, what is the experience that you're trying to create, right? When you look at it, when we design it, obviously I catch up with whatever vendor we have. I say, boss, this is what I want to create. This is space I want. This is what I want to create. This is the detailing that I want to look at. This is the functional purposes. This is experiential purposes. These are the problems of the site, right? And then you basically sit down with the guys who the material, I mean, glass guys, they give us option. Right. Then I again go back to the drawing board. I say, okay, this is what I get. These are my options. Then how can I use glass to enhance it even further? Or how do I relook at my other spaces to help it out? Right. Just an example. The you've seen three, four types of courtyards that we did, right? So each space, there's a certain level of glass that you have to do. But I like one area was about how do I connect to the farmland on the outside. Right. So there I ensured it's part of the brick and on timber on one side and a glass there. So it was a very straightforward glass system. But the other area I wanted it to behave along with the brickwork and the entrance. Right. And a nice pattern system on the brick, accentuating the horizontality of the brick. I wanted some vertical patterns coming in. So glass came in, but then I introduced a system of the canes, which was not initial thought. That was a thought that came back after I thought about glass. Right. So vice versa, we will have to keep it. So I didn't show you here and that one of the designs have where the water channel goes on. On the
Hmm.
floor, there is this whole opening with the glass. So you walk on the glass and see the water flowing under. Right. So again, that we didn't think about. So we were skeptical if you'll even get a glass that can hold kids and other people running around. So we did a double DGU system. You have two layers of 6 mm glass with a system that is placed on that can be easily taken up for maintenance and all those systems. So my purpose was I want them to see the water flowing inside. With that, I went to the vendor. They came back with their ideas. Then I went back to my drawing board to the side. We figured out a solution that works out everything.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
So as I said, it's about what is the emotion that you create, then look at what is available, then you might have to go back and redo it. But eventually the underlying principle is what is it that you want to design or create and use the best available solution.
Yes, sir. And your projects have been so inspiring and very interesting. So, as an architect, how would you and how do you guide young architects in making smart material choices for tropical climates?
Okay. First and foremost, which I always keep telling people is don't chase imagery. Right. Okay. So we are unfortunately, fortunately, influenced with Western architecture and culture where large spans of glass and large openings and large windows have been dictated. Our education system also, we have been taught about Mies van der Rohe and Fransworth House by Philip Johnson and all those buildings where glass house itself is a building, right? But we have to look at our climate, our emotions, what are we trying to create, where are we coming from, right? And what is needed for that space and place and people. Then look at glass using there. Not come go with a certain say, okay, this is the kind of image and this building view that I want to create and push everything else into it. So study the climate, study the thing, and study your own projects after it is built. Right. Study other people's building. Go look at problems that are there in multiple buildings with the glass. Right. Usually people don't talk about their failures online. Right. So you have to go and look at it. Only then you will also learn and ensure you're failing. So and you have to understand being an architect is not just about making good designs or elevations. You have to bring in that engineer out. Right. So there is a glass is a material that's with a chemical composition. right? And there's a lot of systems that goes along with it. You cannot look at glass as a glass material alone. There are profiles and systems that come with the glass. You have to study which profile and systems also work along with it, right? Don't look at glass as, okay, I used what SG125 and got done with it. But what is the profile that you're fixing it? What is the detailing that you're looking into it? And you have to look at a bit of energy analysis, daylight analysis. You have to understand those things. So try to hone yourself on that engineering and technology and data driven systems aspect, right? Don't get stuck into the dogma of just sketching and making it look good kind of systems, right? But bottom line is learn from mistakes, old buildings, learn from non-architects, engineers, technologists, and look at everything as a holistic system. Don't look at glass individually, timber individually, or the profile individually. Everything has to work together.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj, for taking us through this insightful journey and showing how glass can be thoughtfully integrated into tropical design, balancing light, shade, and monsoon challenges. Your perspective reminds us that glass is not just a material, it is a tool that can be used for comfort, sustainability, and even aesthetic excellence. And thank you to our audience for joining us. We hope this conversation leaves you inspired to approach tropical architecture creatively, just like Mr. Manoj has, and leveraging glass to enhance spaces, experiences, and sustainability. On behalf of Glass Academy and Ethos Empowers, we are grateful to have had you with us for this session. Wishing you all continued curiosity, growth, and climate responsive design practice. Until next time, take care and keep creating spaces that matter. Thank you.